really love the fans, and I appreciate everything you guys have done for me, except for Logan. You can go fuck yourself.
All right, it's 11:10 a.m. and I'm about 4 hours late to start this project. So fingers crossed I get most of it done. We have the garage heater going nuts. We got a cold car and a cold Logan. And I'm excited to tear this lovely wiring out of this car. Let's go. Step one is obviously gonna be remove all of the existing, stuff from just get rid of all this wiring. So I don't want to make you sit through watching me take this stuff off. So I'm going to time lapse me removing all this wiring, but don't forget, before you start working on anything, electronics, just unplug your battery. If your battery was a plug-in, you'd unplug it. I guess I should say disconnect your, you know what I mean? Just don't, you know what I'm talking about. Take your battery terminal, off, and then that way you don't light yourself on fire. Not that I've ever done that. Anyway, time lapse, movie magic, let's go. I didn't hit start on the time lapse video, so just pretend like I'm moving very quickly and I'm taking all this stuff apart. That's just, use your imagination. First stopping point on this thing, obviously I've got a lot of the harness disconnected already. Here's the deal, when you're bolting the trans up, let's see if I can get it in there. Let's see if you can see this connector between the bell housing and the block. I don't know if it goes to a clutch sensor that I've never heard of, or God. All right, I was able to get that top bell housing bolt out, and you can see those wires probably weren't the happiest in the world. Ugh. So, knock sensor harness is freed from the bell housing. Next, we're gonna probably find a better home for all these grounds. And then obviously the main power, it's a disaster waiting to happen. All right, now everything top side is pretty much free, and we have to go behind the dash and hope there's nothing living. Figure out just how connected to the chassis everything is. Let's enter the oh God. Well, okay. I'm probably not gonna film any of this because I don't want to bleep out, a bunch of cuss words. It takes too much time. So I'll be back. So the main harness is pretty much out. There's still some stragglers and some random extension harnesses. Crank sensor I just cut because whatever. And then I ended up fishing everything through, and everything's getting caught on everything. A bunch of wires aren't bundled together. So I made the executive decision just to chop the harness and pull it out one piece at a time. That is old stuff. That is new stuff. Old, new. Bad, good. I do want to pull a bunch of the miscellaneous stuff off too. We got a fuel line that looks like it goes to Narnia and then comes back to Middle Earth before it lands in the engine bay. Get all that stuff fixed up. Fix the cold side maybe with the 37 silicone couplers. Catch can, I can actually pull the catch can off. What the? Oh. Oh! God. I didn't make it very far after pulling the catch can off and the vacuum block before I noticed something that everybody really needs to pay attention. So this is obviously a braided line, zip tied down there. This is your power steering pump. The braided line touches the back of the V-band right there, and it's actually resting on the hot side. If you don't know, power steering fluid, transmission fluid, very combustible. Very combustible. So running a power steering line on the manifold is a quick way to burn your entire car straight to the ground. So do not do that. That's bad, 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 bad. Now that we have the majority of the accessory stuff off, we freed some room up. There's a breaker here. This breaker, this is main power feed. I'm guessing it branches from alternator to here, and then I don't know where this goes to, but just looks like amp wire. But these aren't bad. I usually tie these in sequence. I feed main power to one side, and then the other side, if I'm feeding relays and they need main power, I'll use a breaker in between them. If I'm just trying to throw it together, a couple things, obviously, wire through open hole like that, it'll tear your stuff up. And then make sure you use all the proper fittings. I say fittings, but I mean connectors. Pull this off. Please don't cut ring terminals open like that and just shove them over a stud. Please don't do that. On to the alternator charging wire. So this ran from that breaker box we had here. This gauge wire is way too thin for an alternator charging wire. I run 4 gauge minimum on this stuff. So we're gonna rip this off and redo the main power wires to and from the battery and any breakers we use. And back up front, you have your steam port. Generally, I never run zip ties there because this is a pressurized system. I'll try to run the smallest worm clamp I can find. And then over here, the same deal. Worst case scenario, at least double up the zip ties to try to keep that on there. Because when I boost this thing to the moon, I'm for sure going to pressurize the coolant system way too much, and I'm for sure going to blow this off. I don't want to soak the tires down and trash the car, so make sure these are secured. Over here, we have amp wire, and this runs from the starter to that main power breaker. And you can see that this was just roasting itself on the manifold. So that's no bueno. That's all got to come back off, which is whatever. My original plan was to get the engine harness off and then the new engine harness on. After diving into this, it just needs way more work than just an engine harness swap. So I'm pulling the whole thing down, set the phone down for a little while. I'm gonna clean the interior, I'm gonna clean the engine bay, I'm gonna clean out the trunk, and I'm just gonna get it ready for me to absolutely attack it. So it'll seem like it's the very next clip, but about 4 hours from now, I'll finally be done. Cool. And magic! We got this thing all torn down. All the unnecessary stuff is off. Still have a couple power steering lines that we need to route back, but in time. Valve cover's off. They have the trunnion kit installed already. They're a little worse for wear as far as cleanliness, so I'll clean all that stuff up. Firewall cleaned up super nice. I may pick up a new brake booster because it looks grimy. The shock tower was beat in for the downpipe. I'll have to touch that up. Power wire runs through the chassis out that hole. It'll get a grommet and we'll rewire all the stuff to the starter and then obviously to the alternator. Same deal with the valve train on here. Just a little, you can see just a little grimy in places. Get that cleaned up. But engine bay turned out awesome. I mean, it just needed a little TLC and a lot of leaks and random little stuff. Like the intercooler is, I mean, that's straight up heinous. That'll have to get replaced. And this damn fender won't stop rattling. The interior was a pain in the ass. It was absolutely roached. But if you watched a previous episode of Clapped Out, I dyed the carpet in a Grand Prix. I used the same method on this. All these like high and low spots, it's just where the light's hitting the carpet. In person, it looks awesome. It's all one shade of black. So all the stains and all the grease and stuff I scrubbed out, dried it out, prepped it, degreased it, and then dyed all the carpet, which is awesome. Also scrubbed the hell out of the seats. The seat was wrecked. Front seats are over there. They still need to be cleaned. And all of the wiring and energy drinks needed to finish this job. But overall, I'm really happy with the progress so far. In the trunk, you can see all we have now is a main negative battery cable, which, here's the deal. The battery's in the trunk, which 14-foot long negative battery cable, but whatever. Main power cable that I just showed you up front. And then the fuel pump hanger, all this stuff, all the unnecessary stuff has been cut out. We'll mount a couple of individual relays. I was told that hanger has 2 Walbro 450s, so I'll remount and rerun relays that'll turn on with key on ignition. But the trunk turned out good. Needs a little paint, but whatever. So I'm beat. to take a trip down south today. So tomorrow I'll get back on this thing. Meantime, thank you for watching, and I appreciate all the prayers that have been sent my way with this project. Bye.
The birds surrounding